This is the Freeheel Life Podcast, episode number 78. I'm your host, Josh Madsen, coming at you from the Freeheel Life shop in Salt Lake City, Utah. And we're back, everybody. Monday. Here we are, back at it. News for today, Telemark is still not dead. Just in case you were wondering. It's alive and well. So, newsroom and notes, just to hop into this right off the bat. Most of our content between all the stuff we're doing is coming out on telemarkskier.com. We've got a really great in-depth gear review in our premium section about the Scott Voodoo NTN. The first one we did was the Bishop BMF and BMF R. So you got a in-depth boot review now, in-depth binding review. What we're trying to do there, if you're not a subscriber yet, what you will find in these reviews is just in-depth content, video, ski content, written content, commentary on the item, and really going in depth. So we're trying to cover some of this stuff first on the Telemark skier side of things. You know, there's probably some of you out there that are going, "Oh, the Scott Voodoo, it's been around forever," and whatnot, but it's important that we kind of back catalog some of this stuff because we weren't doing telemarkskier.com at that point, and we just never got around to doing an in-depth thing. So there's going to be some catch up. So if you are a subscriber and you already know this stuff, hang in there. We're going to keep cranking. If you're a new Telemark skier and you're interested in finding out more about the gear, this is a great way to do it. And yeah, we're putting out some other news pieces and whatnot along the way. So right now we're trickling out usually one premium piece a week and, one freebie a week. And we're just kind of getting our feet wet, making sure the organization of the site's positive and working, taking feedback from people, and then just kind of working out the kinks. So appreciate all of you that have subscribed. That means the world to me and all the rest of us that are working on this and want to keep information coming out about telemark skiing. Super important. So, slowing down on our YouTube page a little bit. We're going to be doing, popping in there with Dosty's View, the Lowdown with Taylor Johnson, but we'll probably only do, one a month, one every other month as we go through the summer, just to keep it relevant and interesting rather than just trying to put a bunch of garbage out there that you guys aren't going to enjoy. And that way we can spend more time that we do have kind of gearing up for the fall and winter that's coming up for us in North America. So if you're in the Southern Hemisphere and you're checking it out, hopefully you're playing some catch up, and there's plenty of stuff. We put a ton of content out this past winter up here. So you can check that out on IGTV, on Telemark Skier Magazine or Freeheel Life pages. And YouTube's got it all. So please go and check that out. We would love for you to do that. And just be a part of those communities, and we'll keep you up to date with what is going on. If you have feedback for stuff on telemarkskier.com, feel free to send that in to customer service at freeheellife.com. And we're just going to be checking that out and trying to apply to the best of our ability as we go forward. Hopping over to the Freeheel Life side of things. If you listened to a couple podcasts back, we talked about the Protector skis, the Protector 95, the Protector 105. These are our Freeheel Life skis that we will be producing in Salt Lake City. We are making these ourselves. We are literally making the cores all the way to the top sheets ourselves. And if you haven't listened to the podcast with Todd Harilla, he's my ski maker buddy. And he's worked with me and Taylor and the rest of the shop crew to help design these amazing skis. Now, to give you kind of an update what's going on with that, we did cap these off, and I have mentioned this before, but just to reiterate in case you literally don't listen to every single podcast or you're not on social media or whatever, We have not even put these up for sale, and we were going to put the pre-order up, but we had already said, hey, we're going to be capping these at 35 for the summer production run. We never even got close. This is a good thing, but we never even got close to putting up the pre-order because we already had a substantial list beyond that 35. So what we're doing now is trying to kind of go through and vet everyone that's shown, expressed interest and kind of work through one by one. So if you've sent in your info, most likely we've contacted you and explained that. And yep, just going to kind of have to hang in there. I mean, these are handmade skis and we're doing our best to kind of keep up, but we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because I'm sure as many of you are aware, there's all sorts of supply chain issues going on in the world right now. And we want to be able to make sure that we can keep to making sure we have all the materials to make, the skis, the 35 and we're pretty squared away on the 35 that we've promised, but going beyond that, I guess that's what I'm trying to get across is if you're one of those people on the waiting list, I guess we can call it, we want to make sure we've got everything queued up properly before we start going crazy and saying, hey, we're going to make hundreds of pairs of skis or something. It's a tricky process. And if you guys listen to that podcast too, super excited that we're taking this step as Freeheel Life as a brand and making skis, but yeah, always tread lightly. That's what I've learned over the years, go slow, steady, try to make, the best decisions that we can. And we really, putting that Freeheel Life Unity Tracks logo on those skis means the world to us. We're proud of it. And we want to make sure we're doing everything, standard operating procedure and sticking to the program and making sure we're delivering what we're saying we're going to deliver and with the highest quality materials and everything else. So that's the update on the Protector 95 and 105 skis. Again, thank you for your support and hang in there if we haven't contacted you. So slowly but surely, and we will get it done. So today's episode, I want to tackle a bunch of different topics. It's not so much a mailbag episode, but just topics I've sort of pulled from our forums. But we've got our new Freeheel Life forum over on the Telemark Skier magazine page, telemarkskier.com. Emails I've gotten, social media posts I've seen. It's sort of a mix between, news, commentary on various things going on in the snow and the Telemark world right now that it just, especially kind of getting into the springtime, it's kind of the time I'm playing a bunch of catch up, kind of looking through emails. We're putting some content out and it just kind of sparked that in my brain where I was like, there's sort of this conglomerate of things going on. And it's a good time of year to kind of address those things and, let you know out there what's happening and kind of my thoughts on it and kind of maybe how we're approaching it as a business and whatnot. So, so I just want to dive into that here and we can kind of tackle some issues. And I'm sure, again, I'm pulling stuff from all of our various intragalactic web of responses and emails and everything else. So I'm sure hopefully they are, but I'm pretty sure they're questions that many of you have out there or comments or similar viewpoints, and just thought this would be a good forum to kind of tackle that. So the first thing I wanted to tackle was the latest piece that we put, or one of the latest pieces. By the time you hear this, there's probably a couple other ones up, but we just put a piece up on telemarkskier.com that I think is incredibly significant and kind of brings up some questions, but I just kind of wanted to give my thoughts on it. So if you go to the news section of telemarkskier.com, you'll find a piece that Craig Dostie put together. Scott abandons Excursion and G-Rex. So for those of you that may not know what the Excursion is or the G-Rex boot, these are two of Scott I shouldn't say Scott USA. It's Scott Sports, their line of Telemark boots. So really quick for you new Telemark skiers, and I mean, even if you're new in the last 10 years, 5 years especially, let me give you a quick rundown on just Scott's involvement in telemark skiing. For those of you that may not know, if you know, just bear with me. But Scott Sports, the telemark boots that they make are actually boots that already existed long ago from Garmont, and Garmont was really a big player especially in the U.S. market back in the day, always kind of going head. I would say, early 2000s through, I can't remember when Scott took over, but probably, into, 2010, 11, somewhere in there. I mean, Garmont was really, it always seemed very, fairly competitive with Scarpa. Especially because they made boots that were a little bit wider typically until the NTN days. And it was good. It just created diversity in the market. And there was people that loved Garmont and people that loved, Scarpa. But what happened is Scott Sports purchased, the molds from Garmont many years ago. Now they continued to make those boots, and that was it's great because it stayed in the market, right? Like then we had a couple more boot companies, and especially because once Black Diamond pulled the plug on their 75 millimeter boots, at least Scott continued to make their NTN boots that they had acquired from Garmont. So anyways, that's your quick little history. Garmont boots are Scott boots. Scott has never made their own Telemark boots. Now, out of this article about Scott abandoning the Excursion and the G-Rex, the most important boot, in my opinion, in that whole article is the G-Rex. So this is currently the only kids boot on the market. So it goes down to Mondo 19, which is, I should have looked this up before, but it's somewhere like a kid's 12 or something in US kid sizes, I think. Someone let me know if I'm wrong. I'm sure I'll hear from you. But the reality of it is it's not only because it's smaller, because you can get a size Mondo 22, Mondo being kind of the universal boot size. So, what's important about having these kids boots especially is they're lower cuff and softer plastic. So it's really, really unfortunate that these boots are going away, and it's not surprising, but it's unfortunate because when Scott had continued to make those boots, and that's significant, and I applaud them for doing that. Like I've said in previous podcasts, Scott and Crispy, I mean, there's like in comparison to the communication that I have with Scarpa and I have over the years, it's super difficult to know kind of what those companies are doing. So like I said, is it surprising that these boots are getting cut? No. And the problem is again, it goes back to what I'm always saying. We have to make our own industry at some point, because it really makes more sense. Because when you imagine you're like the CFO accounting guy at a massive corporation like Scott. You're making goggles, bikes, you're making poles, you're making all these things. And imagine when you get to the line item that says kids Telemark boots. Look, they're doing good business, right? They're looking at anything that's unnecessary in their objectives, or something that's not pulling a lot of weight, meaning it's not making a lot of money in the scheme of all products, and they're making cuts. So as long as we're in this situation where as long as we're in the situation where kids boots specifically, since I'm kind of talking about that, is in the mix with 1,000 other items that are much more, quote unquote, lucrative in the larger scheme of things, we're going to keep running into this. And that's why I always am preaching, we have to make our own industry. I'm not saying I know the solution to that. What I'm saying is it's a philosophical idea that I've had for many years, that if we need to be in control of these types of things, because if we're not, it's just going to keep getting chopped. And funny enough, the G-Rex I'm almost positive, and it kind of got lost in the mix, but I'm pretty sure Garmont actually cut the G-Rex. And then when Scott purchased, they brought it back and none of us knew about it. Because I know when I opened Freeheel Life, I didn't even know they still sold the boot. We were like collecting them off eBay and wherever we could find them. So this is, it's incredibly sad that this boot is going away, because it's incredibly important that we teach young people the Telemark turn, and that it's an option, and that we have the ability, if a young kid wants to try to learn how to tele, we want to make sure that we have the equipment for it. So it's a significant article. Like I said, out of those, the most important one to me is the G-Rex out of that thing. The Excursion, just to touch on that real briefly, Excursion's like a two buckle, very soft. I arguably more on the cross country side, but again, like if we're talking like going out walking, it's kind of like a Scarpa T4. I think when we posted this, a lot of people were like, this is it for 75 millimeter. Look, everyone just needs to quit worrying. This isn't like the reason we posted this is because it's significant to youth telemark skiing, especially. And not because we're trying to say 75 millimeters dead. In fact, I think most of us in the Freeheel Life world, we actually think 75 in youth telemark is probably an incredibly viable option. It's just easier. Kids are, like it's until the kid gets a little bit bigger, we don't have an NTN option that's going to work yet. So, yeah. So again, the whole 75 millimeters dead thing, the whole 75 millimeter versus NTN thing is ridiculous. So tell all your screaming internet friends out there that if they're saying that kind of stuff, it's a garbage nonsense kind of thing to talk about, because it's not true. I will always say NTN is the future of how we're going to fasten telemark boots to skis, but that's kind of obvious. You know what I mean? But there's no hate towards 75, and especially not in this case. We need kids boots. I don't know what this. I'll definitely follow up on this story as I figure out what's going on. I did talk to the marketing guy at Scott, and he actually used to telemark himself, and we had a great conversation about this. And it's funny because I basically just said, hey, here's what we've done with Freeheel Life. Here's what we've done with the shop. And there's interest. There's a lot of people out here doing this stuff, and there's interest even with kids. But he said, not, and I'm not quoting him or anything like that, but he just basically said, you're right on the money, in terms of there's so many other things going on in their company that this can't get attention. And so you're literally talking that the higher ups in Europe are just, they're only looking at a spreadsheet. They're only looking at retail. And that's why I always said Telemark, in fact, is not dead. Telemark retail is dead, except at Freeheel Life, of course, because you can buy your stuff there. But I mean, that's the whole reason we've experimented with Freeheel Life, is so you have a Telemark shop to sell this kind of stuff. But again, it's us against a massive thing. So I will follow up on this story. I want you guys to know about it. It's incredibly important that we have kids boots, and it's incredibly important that we maintain those. So if you're someone local in your area and you want to have kids setups and you find G-Rex, or there is the Teledactyl boot that's even older, that's an orange version. Read this article. It's one of the freebies on telemarkskier.com in the news section. And pick up those boots, keep them in a closet. And when there's a young kid that needs to telly, at least they're there. In the meantime, I'm going to try and figure out where these molds are going to go and what's going to happen with them. So I think that's a worthy news story, is to keep track of that. Now, side note to that, if you are not aware, Scarpa used to make an amazing kids boot as well called the TJ. Again, soft plastic, 2-buckle, very similar to like a T4, but it was specifically, it's one of the better kids boots that was ever made. They do not make it, and I know that they have that mold. So there's hope that maybe they'll bring that back at some point. What I'm saying is I have hope, because again, this is going to go into some other stuff I'll probably touch on later, but it's up to us. And part of the reason I wanted to bring this up is I want you all to know that this is going on. This is actual news that's important, and also let you know, hey, there are other options. One, we're going to follow up with this story down the road. And two, hey, there's other options like Scarpa that have the potential to bring back a kid's boot at some point, which I think would be an incredible gesture in terms of focus on telemark skiing in the future. And so that's that. So kids boots, check it out, telemarkskier.com. Scott abandons Excursion and G-Rex. Like I said, it's a freebie. Go check it out. All right. So with that said, the next thing I kind of wanted to touch on was forums. No, it's funny because I kind of brought this up in the intro, our forums, on the internet and whatnot. And obviously we have a Facebook forum. For those of you who don't know, you can look up the Freeheel Life forum. You can go there via Telemark Skier magazine, or you can go via Freeheel Life. So that's an amazing community we've had over the last couple of years. There's something like over like 5,000 people on there. So there's that. But there's also, we have a new forum on via telemarkskier.com. And the reason I wanted to do this, like, I've always avoided forums over the years. Traditionally, I mean, if I looked at the last 20 years, I was not always the biggest fan of forums. And there's a reason, is I want people to feel welcome. And sometimes forums are not, they become kind of toxic, like a lot of social media and stuff like that. And that's not what I want, especially if it's surrounding our businesses. And I want to make sure when you come and talk to people, it's just like when you come to the shop. Part of when I opened Freeheel Life, I promised myself that I wanted to always make people feel welcome, anybody, because that was the thing I even hated when I would go to a gear shop. I would walk in and some kids got this attitude, like this sort of, I don't know. There's just always this weird attitude in a lot of shops, and I don't know, some sort of superiority complex or something. I don't know. And I would hear that from other people too. So that's what we want to do with the shop. So when we just relaunched telemarkskier.com, I was like, all right, we're going to do a forum, but it's just, there's only, from the Facebook, I mean, like I said, we have like 5,000 people there. There's only like 150 people that have migrated over. So I'll make sure to put a link in the notes of the podcast. I would love for you to come and participate in our forum on the website, because who knows if Facebook's going to be around forever, or if, some people don't even get on Facebook. So we want to create our own space where you can come and talk. Now, with that said, you'll probably hear me, when I do these mailbag episodes or whatever this isn't really mailbag episode, whatever. But just pulling some ideas. One, I want people to be positive. And if you're a new telemark skier looking for information, I want you to come there and just know that people like myself, people like Craig Dostey, people like Keith Woods, Travis Bellantino, these are people that are going to help moderate and make it an inviting place and not let it get totally out of hand. And it's about Telemark. That's all we talk about, and that's what it's about. And we want you to come over, and if you are someone who's looking for information or looking for that community, that's what we want. Now, with that said, I caught a glimpse of some people were talking about some stuff in there, and I thought this was, I wanted to touch on this topic because it's kind of a topic that gets thrown around quite often, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm not even going to name who it is in the forum by any means. I don't think that's necessary, but I think what's important is kind of the topical matter of it. And this seems to be this thing that kind of comes up often. And it's this idea of industry. And that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. And there's kind of this, man, on the internet's created this very strange place for telemark skiing, in my opinion, because there's kind of this idea that everyone kind of throws the word industry out there, and they kind of think that they understand the structure. I mean, obviously, if there's an industry, there's some sort of structure and there's some sort of hierarchy of things going on. And oftentimes, I think there's an incredible misconception about where Telemark is at. And so I just wanted to kind of shed a little light on this. If you're on one of the forums, or maybe you read some of the forum stuff, I just want to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit. And when we talk about, and I'm going to read, let me put this into context. There was a comment that was made sort of about how we should show telemark skiing. I think kind of, I think it was sort of alluding to like, here's how we should market telemark skiing, and here's how we should make it look. And sort of this idea that we should never show subpar skiing. I don't know who's judging par, subpar, but it was kind of this idea that telemark skiers weren't performing at a level that was like interesting to other people, I guess. And this is an actual quote from this. It just said, "But to go back to the old boots issue, why would the company design new gear and look to be revolutionary when all we give them on the current gear is a subpar performance? I wouldn't waste my time either." And I think this is a fascinating thing because here's what I want to pull back the curtain a little bit. There's 3 boot companies that make telemark boots. And let me rephrase that. There's 3 footwear companies that make telemark boots out in their footwear line. Scarpa makes climbing shoes, hiking boots, ice climbing boots. Crispy obviously has some hiking boots. They make other stuff. Scott makes an array of things like we just talked about. Here's the thing. As someone who's been in this for, over 2 decades and done a lot of different stuff, and, I won't even go into that, but here's what I'm going to say to you. I personally wish that people were actually watching our community. And I'm not just talking about the rad skiers. I'm talking about all telemark skiers, because we're making my hope is that if you are a R&D person making equipment and kind of to go broader, not just boots, but any type of equipment for telemark skiers, it would be important to me that you have someone in your company that watches what's going on. Now, I want to explain this because it's very bizarre to most people. New people getting in. I hear all sorts of frustrations about people getting into telemark, and they're like, why is this happening or this happening, or why don't you have this already? And then I have some people where you have things like this, and they're like almost alluding to the fact that like there's somebody watching and analyzing, and if we were doing a better job as a community, that they would actually innovate. Again, total garbage. The reality of it is, and I'm not saying that to be offensive, I'm just speaking truth on this. Nobody's actually watching. And I would like this gentleman that said this, like, I wish they were watching too, but they're not. And so we have to understand that is sometimes the patience game that I'm always talking about on the podcast is it's incredibly important that we realize one thing. You listening out there today, me, this guy talking on here, we are the industry at this point. And it's incredibly important that we realize that, and I understand you guys are probably thinking, well, we can't make boots. Well, you're probably right. We cannot make boots at this point. But by us getting on board with the idea that there may not always be someone watching that is going to wave some magic wand and create equipment for us, we need to be more self-reliant as a group, as a community. If you're passionate about Telemark and I'm passionate about Telemark, and we have this great thing called the internet, we don't even have to ski at the same resort and we can still help grow it. That's the idea. Spread Telemark. But we have to be positive, and we have to focus on the positive aspects of what we have and understand. And that's why I'm trying to use this not to pick on anyone, but I want you to understand that in most, you are correct, in most quote unquote industries, there's somebody looking and somebody watching and somebody that's looking to innovate. This is not the case. This is not the case right now. And I can tell you that 100% that is not the case. And it hasn't been for quite some time. And I know that sounds crazy, but there's very few companies that are watching Telemark because they are a Telemark brand, and that's all they make products for Telemark skiers. Be suspicious, I guess is what I'm saying, and maybe not suspicious. I don't want you to get all conspiracied out on this, but there's just too much going on in these other companies for them to pay attention to this. So that is what I wanted to talk about with industry. And so this kind of goes to the next thing. One, I want people, please come to the forums, experience that. I want you to understand these can be positive things that we use to help grow the sport, and share it. Share it with youth, share it with adults, share it with everyone, share it with our people at the resorts, but we are the ones that need to understand that we are the solution to this thing, and not, this isn't about some company fixing everything, unfortunately. And I should say, like, companies that maybe only do one Telemark product or a couple, and they have all sorts of other things going on. And that's what we're trying to do at Freeheel Life. That's why I keep saying, what I'm trying to always put my money where my mouth is, and say, hey, we want to make stuff for you, because I do want to be like this guy's talking about and watch. And that's what these protector skis that we're putting out. Are we making thousands of them? No. But we made these skis specifically with you, Telemark skiers, in mind. Is it going to fit is the Protector 95 and the 105 two models in two different widths going to change everything? Absolutely not. It's not possible. You can't please every single Telemark skier on the planet. But guess what it does? It does exactly what this gentleman's hoping happens. Is we look at, and honestly, I'm not looking at the performance of all tele skiers. Look, some people are beginners, and some people are intermediate, and some people are pro level status. It doesn't really matter what, like these particular skis, like if you listen to our podcast about the Protector, we're making something for a specific kind of general group, and that's where we're going to start, because that's a good place to start. And then we're going to go from there. And because I do want everyone to know that we're paying attention, that we are a Telemark company. And we're going to make a good product. We're going to make a great product. And guess what? It's by a Telemark company. But guess what? If you're an alpine skier and you mount it up, that's what we want. So, but we'll never not be Telemark. Never. Won't happen. So anyways, so that's my thoughts on forums. I want you to be a part of our forum. I want us to help build this community, and I want all of you to understand you are the industry. You are the industry. We collectively are the people that are going to move this thing forward, and that's what it's all about, And just don't think that there's somebody out there watching, because unfortunately they're not. I wish, like I said, just in closing, I wish they were watching. But it's going to take companies like Freeheel Life, like 22 Designs, like Bishop, that truly are Telemark brands, and they don't have anything to make them not think about other, what other product in their lineup that's not Telemark is just going to take their attention. So stick with, please, this is me just, obviously you can put your money where you want, but my hope is that if you are someone thinking like that, put your money, especially with those people. And then as far as the boots go, let's keep building our community to help influence the decision making, so they will start paying attention. Because at this point, there's we're not making boots, 22's not making boots, Bishop's not making boots, so yeah, I can't really categorize a true Telemark boot company. Scarpa's doing great in the United States. If you're over in Europe listening to this, Crispy, Scarpa, and unfortunately, like I said earlier on the podcast, I don't know where this is leading for Scott, but they have never innovated their own boot. So unless they see something that changes, we may be down to 2 boot companies. I hate to say that, but the solution is us. The solution is being as self-reliant and using what we have now to keep growing it. And just don't be bitter out there. Be happy. Be happy, even though it's not always the way you want it. All right, last but not least. Yeah, I know I kind of got fired up on that last topic, but yeah, sometimes it takes a minute to kind of I hope people can listen to that, and maybe you might even listen to it and you shut it off, and I guess you wouldn't be listening to this now if you already shut it off. But hey, yeah, we're in a complicated little section of this thing, right? And we've got to get people to understand that the way to progress is for us to do the stuff as people. I know I'm a business guy, right? Like I run a business, I run a couple businesses, and you guys all support them. And that means the world to me. But in essence, that's what shows that this can work, but it takes some time. We got to be patient and whatnot. So anyways, on a lighter topic, I guess, and just to kind of wrap this thing up for today, I want to talk about something now that's going to happen way later, and that's World Telemark Day 2022. So the important thing with World Telemark Day, if you haven't heard about World Telemark Day in the past, and it was kind of a little bit different this year because couldn't really do it. I mean, COVID was going on. It just it made for a kind of a wacky situation for gathering at ski resorts. Some of our friends never got to ski, or maybe they only got to ski in the backcountry or whatnot. So, anyways, World Telemark Day. This is something that we can all do at our local mountain, by yourself, with a friend, with a group of friends. And if you haven't listened, there's a World Telemark Day podcast. I'll put it in the notes. You can scope it out. It explains the whole thing, the brief history of it all and whatnot. But it's the best event because you literally do it, like I said, by yourself. And we all do it as groups all around the world on the same day. So it always falls on the Northern Hemisphere. It always falls on the first Saturday in March. So In 2022, it's going to be March 5th, and we will have World Telemark Day. So the basics of World Telemark Day, for those of you that don't know, have not participated in it, it basically means go telemark ski at your local hill, local backcountry spot, invite your friends. There's no need to organize it. If you want to put something together, we can kind of help you learn the ropes of how to do that at your local hill. But it's basically just saying, hey, here's the meetup at my local spot. We're going to meet at the bottom of Wildcat Chairlift at Alta or something at noon, and we're all going to go ski for a run. It's not an event in that sense of the word. It's not like you have to have a demo. Now, it's something that we can build off of, but here's why I wanted to bring it up today, because it's still May, and I want to make this stronger than it has ever been before, but I need your help. I need to have a point of contact that you are a diehard tele person, or hey, even if you're a first year tele person, but you're like, this is really cool. And I've met a lot of really cool people like this, and we've got a little crew of like 3 or 4 people at my local hill in the Midwest or New England or Canada somewhere or wherever over in Europe. What I need to do in order to take this thing to the next level is I need a great point of contact for World Telemark Day in your area. And even if you think you can't get anybody else, that's fine. But I want to get in contact with you now. So if you're listening to this and you want to be a point of contact as a volunteer to be the point of contact in your area for World Telemark Day 2022, I want you to email podcast@freeheellife.com and just put World Telemark Day in the subject line and just send me your contact and say, hey, here's where I live. I'm really interested in talking about World Telemark Day. Now, I want to do this year because we've always kind of made it pretty loose. And when I started this thing back in the day, it was literally, I just put it on the internet and was like, all right, it's World Telemark Day, first Saturday in March. And it's gone great every year since, and it's always grown. But this year I want to kind of take it up. So what we'll do is kind of start preparing over the summer and get an email list going specifically for that. I don't know if I want to call you organizers or whatnot, but you're volunteers. You're people that are stoked in your area. And going back to all these topics we talked about today, this is what we're talking about is basically we need a good point of contact. Obviously, it's you're volunteering. It's not like this is some paid position or something, but we just need someone, on the other end of the phone, the other end of the email saying, hey, I'm interested. And I want to help you. Our team wants to help you have a successful World Telemark Day in your area. And what we've always done in the past is we'll make a press release, we'll make a logo. But this year, if I can get more points of contact in more areas, what I'll be able to do is help you with an easy way to just set up that meetup. And then we're able to promote it through all of our channels. Telemark Skier Magazine, Freeheel Life, all our social stuff, email lists, all that good stuff. It's not going to require a whole lot from you other than if you're already a stoked individual, and I know there's thousands of you out there because I get emails and phone calls all year long, and we know how fired up you are. We want to help you. So again, World Telemark Day, volunteers, points of contact, send an email, podcast@freeheellife.com, subject line World Telemark Day, and leave your name, phone number, email, and stoke level at 11, and put that in the body of the email. And then I will personally get back to you and we will start figuring this thing out. And we'll go from there. So those are the main things, everybody. So wanted to talk. Definitely check out the article about Scott cutting the kids' boot and the excursion on telemarkskier.com. Please go join our forum on telemarkskier.com. We would love to have you in there and bring the positive and know that it is going to stay positive. That I am committed to is making that a great community center point for all of us. And it's free, by the way. I didn't even mention that. The forum itself is free. It's not part of the premium content. So just come on over, especially if you're already on our Facebook stuff, and help us build that up. We would love that. And then World Telemark Day. Let's take it up a notch, turn it up to 11 this year, and make it better and better and better. I appreciate all of you so much. If you're listening during the summer, just know I'm so grateful you're listening. I've got some amazing guests. I know I've kind of done some solo stuff the last couple weeks just in the transition period. It's the shoulder season, right? So, but I've got some awesome guests coming up, and I'm so pumped to talk to them and bring them. I got some good history stuff. I've got some people that are doing their own rental fleets. We're going to talk to them. I've got my good friend who's a brewmaster that's coming on, and I got some goodies coming down the line. So stay tuned. Like I said, always, you can read content, telemarkskier.com, become a subscriber. We would love that. Premium content and freebies are coming out every single week. I got Craig Dosty, the guru himself of Telemark, is at the helm, and we're putting stuff out regularly. Freeheellife.com for your Telemark needs. If you need parts to get your stuff put together over the summer, awesome. We've got some amazing lifestyle stuff. I got some awesome shirts coming out. We've got some Protector of the Turn shirts coming out. I got another shirt called Guru Lou that should be going live here in the next week. Stay tuned for that. Cinco 5-panel hats. We just redid our Drop Knees Not Bomb shirts. Jack T's got a little upgrade to a gray shirt, and we've updated all the shirts, better quality. We're just going for it. We're trying to make it better, better, better. So thank you for your support. And until next week, spread Telemark always, my friends. Peace out.